That way me want to come out of your presence for. When your presence is the regular, it's motivation and memories with Ivory.
Hi everyone. Welcome and welcome back to Motivations and Memoirs. It is such a wonderful privilege for me to be sharing with you again this brand new spanking new year. And of course, we are in a new season now. Remember that we are in the segment where we share testimonies. Persons come and they share what God has done in their life. Now, the new season is from brokenness to victory. You know, society describes brokenness as a condition in which something is so badly damaged and unable to continue to work or to have any use. And if they do work, or if it does work, it can't work properly. But we are defined and we're canceling out that argument as a matter of fact, because we're declaring the statement that says broken crayons can still cover. We also want to add to that there is not one broken vessel that God cannot mend. We have experiencing mending our broken lives. And so we're here to testify that yes, he can mend yours. I have another guest, and my guest today is a yardie. She was born and raised, or as we say, bred in Jamaica, but she currently resides in the Cayman Islands. This woman of God is a nurse and phlebotomist by profession, but is an advocate by heart and at heart. She is the first of 5 children for her mother. And of course, you know, that means that she has learned to be very responsible and to be tentative from an early age. She has experienced brokenness, pains, struggles, and you will hear as she tells you her story. But today she is a survivor of domestic abuse. Guys, here's another individual who refused to become a victim, but one who has made a decision to reach out to women who themselves are facing this similar challenge. She's here to speak out. She's here to tell her story. And she has also written a book. This, my guest strongly believes that there is hope and life after domestic abuse. She says women can still be overcomers. They can still be victors. And that once they invite God into their situation, then things will definitely work in their favor. This evening, guys, my guest is Crystal Buckley. She's a living testimony. As you heard, she's a professional, but she's also an author. Her first book, ironically, is From Broken to Redeemed. Wow, can you imagine, guys? Look at how God just works on this very brand new season of brokenness to victory. Welcome, Crystal, to Motivations and Memoirs. It is such a wonderful pleasure to have you sharing with us.
Thank you, sis. Thank you for the invite. It is indeed a pleasure to be here this evening on your platform. Knowing that we should have done this a long time ago.
Can I tell
But God
you?
is always just the best timing. He knew that you would have come up with this season
Right?
from Broken. And so he dropped me right
at the start.
God is awesome. But
Yes.
thank you for having me. And I must say all the best to you for the new year, to your viewers and your supporters. I hope and I wish and I pray nothing but the best. And I know that you're a woman of God, so God will be in everything that you do.
Amen.
And keep him first, and everything else will be copacetic.
Absolutely. Wonderful. it is such a, an amazing thought, just to really look back and reflect on how God works. And I always use the word that he just catapult people across into each other's path, and then as we were laughing about the season, from brokenness to victory, and your book from broken to redeem, what a coincidence. But we know that all things work together for good. And so you're here to share. I mean, many persons would listen and say, okay, domestic violence. Oh my God. Look at her. She looks so relaxed and calm. But she's here to say that I survived. And not only to say, but also to pull other women and say, come man, I want to share with you. I want to tell you how I survived and how you can survive. So, Krista, go right into your story and just share as you are led, because God's name will continue to be glorified.
Amen. In all things, He must get the glory, right?
Yes, yes.
Amen. So, as you introduced me before, I am Crystal, and you said all the nice little fancy things, right? But a person once asked me, "Who is Crystal?" And that was, I found that to have been the hardest question to answer, because you are, I don't know about you, but I'm this today, and tomorrow I can be a whole different person, because the things that I've been through kind of have me on a little, I'm on guard to who I really want to be, you know. But first off, I must really say, if as you ask me who am I will tell you I am a child of God, because I believe in God. I know what God has done for me. I know what He can do, and I mean I've seen what He has done for others. So when I was younger, when I say younger, I meant 21. I got married at 21. I grew up in church, but this they'll tell you. I mean, yeah, we have to read the scriptures and we know that your body, is a temple of God, and sex before marriage is wrong and all of that. But as young girls as a young girl growing up in church, this was the bell in my ear. Don't have sex out of marriage, get married first, find a nice man, and yada yada. So I grew up in church because I really loved dancing. So I used to dance for the church that I attended. And when I say dance, I mean if there was a concert from another branch, they would request an item from me or from the group that I was in. And so this became my worship, until one day the pastor said, why not just come in fully, because you're singing on the choir, you're dancing for the church, you're being active in the church. So why not just come in? I did go in, but I didn't go in with what I should have gone in. I wasn't reading my Bible, I wasn't studying, I just wanted to dance. That was my worship, and I wanted to dance. I had an injury maybe 2-3 years after, where I fell and got a pinched nerve in my shoulder. So dancing requires hand movement, and I couldn't do that. And I got so distracted and distracted. I little by little I went out into the world till what we call it backslide. And then I met a guy, and he asked me to marry him, and so I said yes, because we were dating, and I said why not? I grew up knowing that don't have your children out of wedlock and all of that. So, this was big for me. I was like, yes, okay, at least I held on to that. I'll be a married woman. I can have sex. Can I say that on your platform, sis?
Sure, you can.
I can do big woman things because I'm married. But when I got married to this guy, I used to work. I'm from Manchester, Manchester, Jamaica. So I used to work in Montego Bay. So I used to come home only on fortnights. So I really didn't get to know this guy really, because yes, we went on a couple of days. We were talking before I went to work in Montego Bay. I got this job and I left for Montego Bay. So I used to come home only every fortnight, like I said. So when I come home, it's about the going out and it's about the love making and all of the nice things. We weren't in a space to see the bad. A matter of fact, I wasn't looking for that because I was in the prime, I was in love and all of that. And you could, this guy did no wrong for me at that time. And then, so we got married. I was back and forth until one day he said to me, "We are young. You know, I cannot be in Manchester. My wife is in Montego Bay. You need to pack that up and come home." I was like, "Okay, I'm a nurse. I'm qualified. I will find jobs, in Manchester." So I came home. So now I started to live with him fully, wholly, and solely. So I'm seeing the bad, the good, the in between, the indifference. I'm seeing everything. And I was taken aback because I'm like, this was not the person I fell in love with. I fell in love for the good things. I never knew this side of the person. I started to see him being controlling. I started to see him being persuasive. I started to see him a lot of red flags were popping up. And I'm like, what is this? Anyway, it prolonged till we and I was this type of person that if you argue with me, I am not going to say anything. But if you argue with me today, I might make it slide. Whereas if, let's say, I'm at fault, I'll make it slide today. But if you come back on it tomorrow, since I'm going to answer you, that is how I am. And he didn't talk back. He didn't like the talk back. He wanted to have the final say. He used to say this, that you are my wife, so I have to groom you how I want you. That's what he used to say. Yes.
Okay.
So the first incident of a physical hit took place when I was sorry, pardon me, I have a little sniffles and yeah. Um the first hit took place when my goddaughter was to be christened. So now you know how Jamaicans are when it's christening. Now the whole shebang turned up at church, and so he knew this in advance that we were going to church next week. So this week coming on, I would have chose our clothes and ironed and laid them out. Sunday morning, I don't see no movement. I mean, from him to say, we're going to church. So I'm like, what is happening? You remember that today was a Christmas? Oh, he's not going. What do you mean? I said, all right, come bring me then because I have to go. It's my goddaughter, so I have to stand with the mother. He said, no, find your own way. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm gone, and I found my way and I got to the church and things. When I got back from the christening, he was sitting on the veranda. And when my friend's brother had dropped me off. When I came out of the car, I saw him look on his watch at the time. It was some minutes after 2. I think I had left about 10 o'clock. So as I stepped onto the veranda, he started to cuss with me. Oh, look at the time you're coming home and you have husband. So when am I going to eat? When are you? So I'm like, but you were home. You could have cooked. Whatever you had made was what we would have ate. I was gone. So like I said, he didn't like the talk back. So we were there with the back and forth argument. And the next thing I know, I was slapped.
Wow.
I was slapped. And then in being in disbelief, I ran to the room and I locked myself into the room. And I'm like, what just happened? And he's there banging on the door. Crystal, let me in. We can talk about this. Da, 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 da. Till eventually I had to open the door. But I needed time to come to grips with all of this. Because this was the first. Like I say, I'm fresh back from Montego Bay, so I'm not used to all these things. I'm new to this. Anyway, like I say, I answer back and we quarrel and we go on. Yes, the abuse continued. Well, I didn't call it abuse at the time. I would say we were fighting because any other time that he hit me, I would hit back because I had to defend myself. And what is wrong with these men? The first thing them go for is your face. The first thing they go for is your face. So like I said, no, we were fighting because I'm not going to be the victim of domestic abuse. So you hit me, I'm hitting you back. And again, he did not like that. So the more I fought back, was the hotter the licks and the more they were coming. You know, most time I would have to just give up and make him do what he wanted to do, beat me in my
Oh,
head
Lord.
and do what he wanted to do because I just couldn't fight back anymore.
Mm-hmm.
To a point where one night he came home and I forgot to iron. So I was sitting up in bed when he came. So then time we never had any bed hit. So it's like how this wall is playing behind me.
Mm-hmm.
It was against the wall. And I was sitting up in bed against the wall and he came in and I have forgotten to iron his shirt for work. So he came in and he asked me, so how comes you're in bed and I don't see my shirt? Like, you know, there was a particular spot where I would have hung the shirt. So he didn't see it there. And I'm like, oh, snap, I forgot. So the argument started. And I'm answering back and I'm like, but it's still early. I can still do it. Why are you making a fuss out of it? And he never like that. I was slapped again. So like I said, I was sitting up against the wall. So when he slapped me, my head, the effect, like, and a gush of blood came from my nose
Oh,
onto the wall. And that was it for the night. Like I never, yes, the blood come. I remember that. I remember being hit most because yes, by morning I had black and blue and all of that. Couple days later, he got in trouble. He used to be a bus driver, so he got in trouble with the police in Mandeville. And I was home on my day off when they called me. Is this Mrs. So and so? So I said yes. They said come to Mandeville police station to bail your husband. Like, bail my husband? The person that called said yes. Anyways, I was home and washing some of those. I don't even think I showered. I just grabbed on some clothes and I left out. Went to Mandeville police station now. They're telling me, you know, what happened. And he, to get bail, I will need to fill out this form, go JP and get this signed. So I was up and down, and I had to be back before the court office closed at, I think it was 3 o'clock that it had closed. So I had to be running up and down. When I came back now with the documents and took my handbag off my shoulder now, going into the bag, my nose started to bleed.
whoa.
Like, I just hold on my head like this to go in the bag, and there it came. So me now think, you know, it's because I was hot and I was up and down and moving so fast and everything. I was in turmoil. So that's what I was thinking. Anyways, one of the ladies said that I cannot stay in there with my nose bleeding and stuff. And I saw another police officer that I knew, and he gave me a kerchief. And I had on 2 tops, so I took one off, clean up myself, and I went back inside now. Only for them to tell me that he cannot get bail on that day because they found other things for him that he'll need to go to court for the Friday morning. I'm like, okay, because there's nothing I can do. I used to live in Spaldings. So on my way from Mandeville to Spaldings in the taxi, nose start bleed again. I was in the back of the taxi and the driver had to stop and ask the person at the front to switch place with me so I could hold my head back. So upon reaching close to the hospital, I'm like, should I stop? Should I go over to the hospital? Should I go home? You know, what should I do? But eventually I decided to stop at the hospital because I did not know what was, because I figured what happened the first time it bled, that was because I was up and down. But this time no, I've done all of that and I was relaxed and in the taxi going home and it started to bleed again. So I stopped at the hospital. This was Pauline's Percy Junior
Right.
hospital. Yeah. And explained to the nurses, you know, what was happening to me and thing. They were at the time when I just got there, it wasn't bleeding. So when I explained to them, you know, they put you to it, they give you whatever number, emergency 1, 2, 3. I don't remember what I got, but it wasn't an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was sitting there, and there came the blood again. And I called a ball out nurse, and one of them rushed out to me and called for a stretcher, and they put me down on the stretcher and had me lie back. When I lying back, they put some gauze, roll up some gauze, and push it up into my nose, trying to stop the bleeding now. So they wheeled me into the doctor, and the doctor asked me to sit up. Since the moment I sat up, came everything. I was vomiting nothing but blood.
My God.
So what they call the kidney trays, I vomited 3 kidney trays plus what I vomited on myself before they could have pushed it. Because by the time she said sit up because we need to run some tests. She never turned, the doctor didn't turn her back good before I started to vomit. So I threw up on myself already, plus the 3 kidney trays. By this time now, everybody would have known that I'm with an abusive man who beats me and does these things. So my mother and I weren't having the best relationship at this time. So when they had asked me for somebody to call because I would need change of clothes and all of that, I'm like, Jesus, I don't have nobody to call because by this, I'm at the hospital and my husband is locked up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like, what a predicament for this time. I think I was about before. What a piece of predicament for a young girl. But anyway, I gave them my mother's number, and after they called her and explained what was happening, they told her that they would transfer me from Spaldings to Mandeville, so she would need to meet me there. And thank God she showed up. But right at the ambulance door, from the drive from Spalding to Mandeville was so rocky that the things that they packed my nose with to send me to Mandeville not whole.
My goodness.
So by the time I got to Mandeville, the doctor was right at the where they would do the transition. They'll take me out of the ambulance to the inside. The doctor had to be right there waiting on me. And this is where he pushed some tubes up into my nose, down onto my stomach to try to drain all of that. I was there, but I was not there for me because I kept blocking in and out. My mother was there and she in my hand. And she told me, like, after that, my toes were just stiffed out. And she was squeezing my hand and she was, yes, of course, she must have been emotional and crying, and I don't know.
Right.
So I was on the ward and I had to be right at the nurse's station because I kept blocking in and out, and they, would have to pay special attention to me. So I spent 5 days in the Mandeville Hospital from a ruptured blood vessel. I ruptured a blood vessel between the back of my nose, right under my eye, on this side. And so Friday, he would have gone to court now and he would have not seen me show up. And then he had a cousin that I had texted in the night. When I was little, but I had texted to say, go to court for me tomorrow and tell such and such what happened because I'm in the hospital and I can't make it. So that's why the judge, they had leniency on him and he got out. And he came to the hospital and, what is wrong with you? And crying, and I couldn't talk because I had the tubes down in my throat and my nose was taped up and this big thing over my face, and I could only just look at him and the tears were just streaming down my face because I'm like, why I'm lying here, and then you're coming and you're bawling and you're pretending. But after that ordeal, I went back to my husband.
Oh, Lord. What did your mother say when she discovered this? What was the family like?
Honestly, so my mother used to travel a lot. So she was always back and forth from the States. So this time, luckily, she was in Jamaica. And prior to that, she going and coming. Anything she brought for me, she would give it to my sisters to give it to me because she wouldn't speak to me because, okay, you're in this relationship and you said that this man is going to beat you or kill you and you're not leaving. But I knew what was happening, but I couldn't see where it was leading. You understand? I told myself I will not be no victim, so we are fighting because we're two big people. And I was told that, relationships do have fights and quarrels. So I thought that was the fight.
Oh, okay.
It's just hard. And so I was not seeing
that you're fighting back. You're not a victim, but you're a fighter in this thing.
I'm a fighter in this thing. Yes. So that was the relationship with me and my mother. And my mother, when she tells us that she not talk to you, don't even bother try it. She born much and she's stubborn. She love her one way, and that's what she's here. But I love her with all my heart today. But and at the time I could not see what others were seeing because I was just so caught up. I was just stuck into loving this man, and I'm married, so I have to stay. For one,
Hold
people
on.
told me.
Hold on before you tell me what people say. So you're saying you persons were seeing what was happening to you and was saying, Chrissy, you really going to stay? So persons
Yeah,
you know and were saying to you, you need to run, you need to leave, but you're not seeing because was it that you were so in love, or you just plan to work, you think that it would work out eventually?
I thought that it would have worked out eventually because one, prior to being married to him, like I said, I didn't see the
That
bad
side of
bad.
him. Mm-hmm.
I knew he had some ignorance issue. I knew he got irritated very easily.
Mm-hmm.
A red flag that I should have paid attention to, but I didn't. And a lot of other red flags, because like I said, when I just came home, but I was already married, I saw the control inside and all of that. And again, I swept that under the carpet. So, and like I said, no, everybody know that I'm married now. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, no, people did say, "You sure you want to marry that guy there? You sure that's the one? Look how you're pretty. Why make you choose that guy there?" And all these, and I know felt like I needed to prove them wrong to say, "Listen, he
Ah.
can change. You know, he will change eventually." So I stayed for one, for hoping that he would have changed. Two, like I said, I grew up in church, so I knew that marriage was the way, and I knew that it was the first marriage that God honors, and all of those little things. So I was using biblical biblical principles to garner my marriage, to try to keep it that way. Even though I would have begged him from now till the morning to let's go to church, once in a blue moon he'd go, you know, and I was just hoping he would have changed eventually, but he did not. And there came a point where I had to just decide for me. Again, I had to say, at this point, I don't care what people want to say because I am going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what I feel when I get them licks. I know what I have to, because now I have to be hiding from work because I have black and blue iron as me go to work. Everybody are gonna know say my husband lick me. One or two times I've told lies that me walk up in a door or something drop down on me or all these foolishness like I expected people to believe,
Okay.
you know. But like I said, I was hoping that he would have changed. But like I said, after this hospital ordeal, I went back. I stayed at my mother's for, till I was strong enough because I lost a lot of blood and I had to be doing a lot of follow ups and things at the doctor. So I stayed at my mother until maybe at 3 weeks or so. I can't remember how long I stayed, but then I missed my husband and then I went back. For probably the first maybe 6 months, it wasn't fully a year. It wasn't fully a year before we went right back to square one.
Mm-hmm.
Cussing and fighting again, and no, like I'm saying, the leaks were being too much, so I would have to. These times when he realized I'd fight back, he would try first to pin here these places, so I can't fight back. So it'd be on top of me, but his knees is pinned. My arms are pinned under his knees,
Mm-hmm.
so I can't fight back. So now this is when I realized, but like really, I am now becoming a victim of you
Domestic.
know
Mm-hmm.
what I heard the stories were of domestic abuse, domestic violence, let me say, because it wasn't only the abuse, it was physical, it was mental, it was emotional, it was financial. There were times when he is working and I am working and we can't pay the rent, and landlord turn off light on us, landlord put me out. At one point, we had to leave where we were staying and we had to go to his mother's for because I couldn't go to my mother. So we had to be at his family for a while till we could find somewhere else to go. So it was not just the abuse physically, it was other things. until, like I said, continued. It didn't get better. I had they let me go off one job because one evening he came there with a brawl, and they were like, "No, we can't have this type of people working for us," and they let me go. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so leading up to the point where I left, when I ran away, because that's what I did. I was home and I was cooking. No, the morning before he left for work, I asked him what he wanted for dinner, and he told me, "Around time to eat some stew peas, I would eat that." So I didn't have pigtail at home, so I would have to go on the road. Anyways, I went on the road after I finished my morning chores and whatever. He called me in the evening and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm home cooking." He said, "What are you cooking?" I said, "But you told me you want stew peas, so I'm cooking stew." So that means you went on the road. I'm like, "Yes." He said, "What did you wear?"
Mm.
I'm like, "Must have said the blue shorts." Oh, yeah, you ever see enough weird and clothes that come on the road? Watch me when we come. Okay. And there was just this still voice in my ears saying to me, "Don't argue about it. Just say okay. Just say okay." And I said, "Okay." And I hung up. So when we hung up, sis, I turn off the stove, me pack a bag.
Mm-hmm.
I had to
Yeah.
because that when watch me when we come home, it I want to say it silenced me because that maybe would have been my death, because like I say, him controlling and I couldn't wear certain clothes. I couldn't even go to my family's house unless he was taking me. We had scheduled weekends. This week we would go to your family. Next week we will go to mine. That's how we did it on a Sunday. Schedule
Mm-hmm.
from the past schedule. Because I guess he didn't want me to be alone with them, so they would ask me certain questions and I would say certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran over to my mother's, and he called when he come home. Must have come home and no dinner. That made it worse because he was a man that loved his food. He want come home on a Sunday, want to meat. He want good breakfast. Me a wash, me a cook, me a clean, I'm being I'm being to him a wife. Those were wifely duties for him.
Mm-hmm.
That is what a wife is for. You have to wash, you have to cook, you have to clean. And when we say please to you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. So I ran away. And I've said this over and over on other platforms. Other people have told my story to that. My escape route may not be how you will escape.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he had mind you, I didn't even know where he was because he could have been down the road when he said, "Watch me when I come home." So I never itch. I turned off the stove and I left right away.
Right.
Only two pieces of clothes in our bag and left. But a lot of other women will not have it this easy.
Mm-hmm.
Sis. One, children are involved. And
Right.
the man was the breadwinner and the controller, and they don't have anywhere else to go. That was not my case. I could have gone back to my mother, and there was no children involved in our marriage. So
Mm-hmm.
it was easy for me. It was semi easy because to get up and have to go around and go back and my mother then when I talk to me was very hard. But I decided that okay, then I have to go tell me something can't come in, but I'm not going to stay until he comes home because that might just well be my death.
Right.
So I ran away, and like he must have filed missing reports because police came to my mother's saying that I am not home and my husband. But eventually, I had to tell them that I was not missing, but I just couldn't take his calls, and I had to explain to them why I had to leave. So I was at this happened January of 2014 that I ran away,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, I wasn't working at the time. And a friend of mine made two cars and I got a job where I could walk to from where my mother lives. I could not walk. So no, like I said, he was a bus driver. So occasionally he would glimpse me on the road. So I always have to have somebody walking with me because me know when him catch me, I
Mm.
that was not going to be easy. He would occasionally just drive slow, drive past where I work, to make me know say, him know say, me work there, so.
My God.
You understand? So he wasn't verbally sending a threat, but just seeing him do that and mask the window and out 12 I make for, I know what that meant. So occasionally, going home, I have to have somebody with me. And going to work, somebody have to follow me. Till I got tired of it. And one day I saw him and I said to him, I want a divorce. And he's like, oh, you're fine, man. You
Oh,
want? And I'm like, no, but we aren't together. We're not living together. This may have been about 2 months. I said, we're not living together. We're not together. So why not? And he just said, you can go on here. That's all he said and drove off.
whoa.
After again, I'm at work one day and this police walked in. This job, no mind, they coming from a nurse. I started to sell cash pot. For this job that my friend got from, and I'm like, right now anything goes, cause my parents and I still need to survive. So police walked in and the guys that were in the shop were making a fun. I said, one day this is a real can there's little things, but because of how they carried on when the police came, he couldn't come to me directly for what he had came for. So he came and he said, just walk with me to my car. I'm like, I don't know you. No, I didn't say this to him, but I walked in there like, I don't know you. Why would I walk with a police to his car? This look fishy. Then he said to me, I really came to you. I said, come to me? He's like, yeah. He handed me a summons because the place that we were living was actually in my name. We rented that place in my name. I rented that place because when we left his mother's, again, that was another issue where we had an argument because he wanted to stay at his mother and I could not manage that no more. I needed to go. So I rented my own place. And he came back. As husband and wife, we went there. So the place was not rented in my name. And he said to me, yeah, come with a summons for you to serve your summons. So I'm like, for what? He said, the apartment at XYZ. And I'm like, Jesus, peace. This year, he was trying to spite me. In the pay no rent, he mash up the people, them door and cupboard and window, everything. So when I went to court, and the judge was now explaining XYZ, and I'm like, okay, Your Honor, this is now May. I have left this place from January, but I can try to talk to him to come out of the people in place and pay up their money. And the judge was like, no, Miss Buckley, it don't work like that. We have to hold on by you till the money pay.
Oh, Lord.
In 2014, this was $188,000 enough money. I never have it. Because I do a little job as a sell cash pot. So I was locked up in Paris for a whole week. He didn't come one day to ask me if I want a bottle of water. Nothing. He didn't come. No hear from him, my mother no hear from him. It was everybody chipping from where I started to work. My friends, my mothers, everybody, every little people. I think he gave a contribution. And that's how I got out.
My God.
When I vexed this time I decided say not gonna lick me, kill me because me I go fight him. Yes. All this I got sick in lockup. I can't take no tablet because there's anybody will bring the tablet for me, have to take it first and then see how you react on them before me take it. Only thing I could have gotten there was a sweater. As I got bottom bunk, and I don't know if you understand that the bottom bunk is the floor. So that is where I had to make my bed out of cardboard on the floor.
Wow.
So I got, because Crystal not used to this. Anyway, I spent a week there and I came out. And when I came out, when I was running away, I only took my clothes. I didn't take no furniture, I didn't take nothing. So the way I'm vexed, angry, I can't lick him, kill him. I'm if we go back to jail for real this time. I got a truck and a police friend of my family and got a moving truck. Me, my mother, the police, and the moving truck. We went back to the apartment. And I take out everything. He wasn't there. And I told the landlord that this time I will pay for this lock because if the door is not open, we are kick off the door, and this time I will pay for this. But look, he wasn't there. He was somewhere in the community though, because the door was unlocked. It was just pull up. So easy access to me. I go in and I take everything. So imagine again him coming home again. Coming home first, no wife, no dinner, no nothing. No, he come back. Go about his business and come back. No furniture, no everything. And he never try to reach out to me for a while, like a good 3 months. I'm gonna see him, I'm gonna buck up in him, I'm gonna do nothing because now he probably would have heard that I'm out. I'm gonna see him, I'm gonna hear from him, nothing. And this time I had all this boiling up on me, and I say, me really I try to stay away from him for true, because this time me really probably would have give one coward lick. And me I say, well, me can't see him in the night when me I go to fling something at the bus. Those were my thoughts,
Right.
He maybe not gonna lick him, but I'm gonna lick the bus and he'll feel something when me feel. But it never happened. I never see him until I kind of calmed down.
Wow. What a testimony that was. And what a strong young lady. Because only somebody who is really strong inwardly could have survived all this trauma. I mean, beatings, being hospitalized, spending time in jail. Oh my Lord. But the story continues in the next broadcast. Remember, guys, share with somebody. Tell them to share with another friend, and tell them to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that when the continuation of Crystal's story is uploaded, you all will be notified. Guys, walk good. Remember, you're able to survive. Regardless of how it sounds, how it looks, regardless of what people are saying, you are a survivor, because God created us to survive traumas, if only we are willing to do what is necessary to move ourselves out of brokenness and into victory. Take care, and I'll see you in the next upload.